You're listening to Kizuki, the podcast. I'm Mae Yoshikawa, and I define the Japanese concept of Kizuki as the following. Kizuki. 1. A moment of epiphany, an aha of realization or insight which opens the knower to a new dimension of truth that was formerly unknown. 2. Steps in an incremental growth of awareness, resulting in a movement from ignorance to greater awareness of the bigger picture. A kind of knowing that cannot be undone, that cannot be unrealized. As a longtime yoga and meditation practitioner, a world traveler, and curious self-explorer, I'm obsessed with Kizukis. Listen on each week for inspiring and enlightening stories that may just tip you over for your next aha. On this week's episode, The Gate That Opens the Shrine. The other day, something happened that sent a quiet electric shock through my system. I had just connected with someone in North America that I was signing on to work with, and we had just scheduled our next Zoom call. Nothing unusual, right? And then suddenly, I got an email from him. Hey, it turns out I'm in Tokyo with my wife on vacation. I land on Tuesday. I saw that we just put our time together on the Zoom calendar, but if you'd like, I'm open to meeting in person. What? It just seemed like it came out of the blue. It was the last thing I expected that this man would be in Tokyo out of all places. And sure enough, it was him and his wife's first trip ever to Japan. It just happened to be timed in such a way that I had just signed on with him. My nervous system just lit up in a good way, in a tingly kind of surprise. In fact, I couldn't fall asleep for a while after that because it was as if life was tapping me on the shoulder and saying, this is how unexpected things can happen. This is timing, right? And remember, y'all, the topic of my last episode about leaving our windows and doors open. This felt exactly like that. Except now, I wanted to open my doors and windows 360 degrees, unconditionally, so that unexpected blessings can find their way in from any direction at any time. When I met with him, I said, I'm positively shocked you're in Tokyo all of a sudden. I thought we're halfway across the world. He smiled and said, yeah, I hope this doesn't sound too weird, but I also believe in serendipitous meetings. I appreciated his openness, and this kind of idea, I think it's not just a choice, it's also a choice to believe in it. So it's kind of a value system, a way of living. And I just, in my own heart, I couldn't deny, I was thinking to myself, this is why I'll never stop believing in perfect timing, right? Because things like this happen. But in this case, this time, it felt laced with a reminder to be open to unexpected blessings, in a readiness to be positively surprised. This occurrence reminded me of a chapter from my early 20s, and I was hired back then as a kind of traveler reporter for a small Japanese travel show. The show was centered around the theme of ecology and peace, and we would travel to different remote countries in the world, and I would learn about preserving the earth and also the wisdom of peace. But the show was structured in such a way where I would follow serendipity. Each episode started with one person. Like I would have one contact to visit in this faraway country. And then that person would introduce me to the next person I should meet and talk to about the earth and peace. And hashtag serendipity1 would appear on the screen and the journey would unfold from there. It was so exciting. I went to Nepal and Sweden and Costa Rica. I stayed in people's homes, listened to their stories, learned about peace and ecology, but also all of the things that stunt us from that, right? Tribal wars, all of the ways that we pollute the earth, and how we would not only learn to navigate that reality, but to undo some of the damage that our generation has done. And to do this in a way where we trusted that something meaningful would unfold from these serendipitous meetings, it was only possible in this unscripted way because it was such a small-scale, low-budget program. But oh my God, it was utterly magical. And now, years later, I occasionally sometimes still have students and fans who come up to me and say, hey, I've been watching you and following you since that program, like years ago. It's amazing. So in Costa Rica, as we got on a plane, like Costa Rica is one of the farthest places that you can travel to when you're leaving Japan. We had to fly from Tokyo to, I believe we flew into Houston and then we transited into Costa Rica. And my producer slash director slash camera guy, all rolled in one, would have this very sort of airy, unplanned, but somewhat there kind of a guidance on our journey. And with this script on Costa Rica, he had noted a rare natural phenomenon called the arribada, where thousands of sea turtles come ashore all at once, centered on one shore to lay their eggs. This is a natural phenomenon. There's no exact date on the calendar that the turtles follow every year. There's no guaranteed sighting, just that every year they come on the same remote beach. Even scientists don't know why. Some guess that it might have to do with something about the Earth's magnetism. And when they come, the biologists say that it happens in the third quarter of the moon or something. There's like a lunar alignment. But this isn't an exact science. We just went along anyway, and we thought we would, in no guarantee, like no knowing of even seeing one sea turtle, we just thought that we would make this faraway remote journey anyway. We just decided to go. So a local contact, one of the early serendipity people, pointed us toward a biologist camping out in a remote national park. We took long bus rides, stayed in like these jungle huts, and then due to torrential rain, when they said that the cars and jeeps can't go any further than this area, we trekked for 9+ hours through this biologically diverse natural terrain. I remember seeing rainbows and just nothingness but nature, and different kinds of like plants and leaves and flowers. And it was really interesting how it would change and shift as you walk through because of the way that the continent had mashed together the earth in that area. And at the end of this entire long journey, finally, we reached this tiny, crappy wooden shack. The biologist opened the door, and boy, was she stunned, like jaw on the ground, stunned. She's like, oh my God, you are so lucky. Tonight is the night. She told us she had been camping out for 2 weeks, carrying her own food, her water, everything, to study these turtles that she's passionately studied for decades of her life. trying to time her stay because there's only so much food and water like you can carry, right? Hoping that the turtles would come this month. And we, traveling from Tokyo, just arrived on the very night when the thousands would appear. She guided us to take a nap. She goes, use the back room, take a nap, because midnight, I'm going to wake you up and we're crossing the swamp. Oh, the swamp. It had crocodiles. She taught us how to shine our flashlight low across the water, the surface of the swamp, because she said, if you see anything reflect, glaring, those are eyes, then we don't cross. Because it was just this really, really shabby old boardwalk that of course we wouldn't cross that if there's crocodiles in the water, right? Oh my gosh. But we made it across. And as soon as we turned the flashlight out, because you don't want to disturb nature, you don't want to scare the turtles. And as I had these minutes of blindness, of blinded darkness, because as soon as you turn the lights out, it takes a while for the eyes to adjust and it just goes pitch dark for a while. Then my auditory senses suddenly grew keen and I heard these sounds. It sounded like far away fireworks. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. And it was just this resonance all across the beach. And we're standing way at the end of the beach, right? Where the swamp meets the beach. And as we walked through the trees, under the most amazing starry sky I've ever seen in my entire life, we witnessed it. Thousands of sea turtles. I believe she said it was like over 5,000 sea turtles that night. Their shells just moving in rhythm. And that sound, like distant fireworks, it was the turtles. Each turtle would lay about 100 to 150 eggs. They're like oversized white ping pong balls. We're learning all of this from the biologist who was there. After each mama turtle would finish laying all her 100 and some eggs, when she's complete, she would take her arms and her feet and her flipper to cover the eggs, which she's laid in a hole that she's dug. And she would cover it up again with the sand around her arms and around her feet. And when she's finished, she'll just tap on it with her flipper, like boom, 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 boom. And there's thousands of them doing that. Hence this magical sound. Gosh, it just was such wonder. I don't even have words for that. So for hours and hours, we just hung out in darkness, not turning on our flashlights. She said she taught us that we could only turn on the flashlights towards the turtle's bottom, right? So that we don't disturb their eyes with nervousness. So she guided us along to do this in a safe and kind manner. And yeah, these hours felt like moments because we were just so wrapped in magic. And I've never seen so many stars in my entire life. I witnessed more shooting stars under that sky than I have in a couple decades put together easily. Because it was just so available, right? There were no city lights, no pollution in the skies, just nature, bare. And as the day started to break, I saw that some of the turtles that were slower to return to the ocean were injured. I saw that one had her flipper partly gone. I wondered what happened to her, and the biologist told us that she had likely survived a shark attack. She still laid her eggs, and exhausted, she was just slow to crawl back. We wanted so badly to help her, but she guided us not to disturb nature, that we must allow nature to take its course, that if she is going to survive at all, she needs to make it on her own. She'll need that strength. And that morning, just with a few late turtles trying to make their way back to the water, as the beach was still, I was shocked because then these big black vultures came. They dug up the nests, eating the eggs. They just, if the turtle hadn't covered their eggs completely, the vultures would find them. It was so raw, so much life, so much death, so close together. And it cracked me open. And I realized that, the serendipity that we're so after, it's not the treasure. It's not the goal. Maybe it's just the opening. It's the invitation in the beginning. That night, in the deep nature of Costa Rica, it wasn't about the coincidence of timing. It was about witnessing life. So vast, so vulnerable, so sacred. And all I could do was be there, present, in awe, heart open, in reverence. There's a quote that comes to mind through a song that was shared with me through my dearest friend. I believe it was Ram Dass. He says, "Don't worship the gate. You go into the inner temple." And as I reflect on this story I'm sharing with you today, my personal reminder is this: the serendipity, the meeting, the timing is the gate. As awesome as it is, it's still the first knock. But the real gift is what happens when you walk through it, when you let yourself enter the deep space of unknowing, something so far beyond you, so far beyond any planning and any calculation that any human could have, and let yourself steep in the wonder far, far beyond thought. So maybe that's our take-home Kizuki today. Don't just marvel at the coincidence. Pay attention to what it's pointing you toward and stay open. Don't forget, there's more inside. And yes, you're ready in wonder, in openness, in unknowingness. Thank you for listening. I have a special announcement. At last, we're holding an online Kizuki journaling session in English. It's happening soon on November 11th, 2025 in the evening for those of you in North America, and on November 12th, 2025 at 11 a.m. Japan Standard Time. It's a short 45-minute program and everyone is welcome. To be the first to receive details and registration info, sign up for my newsletter at kizukijournaling.com. That's kizukijournaling.com. A recorded archive will be available for everyone who signs up. But if the time works for you, I would so love to see you live on Zoom.